This is 5 on your side at 6. Focused on you.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of East Alton, where one person has died in an explosion at an ammunitions plant. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bush. Ann Allred has the night off. The explosion happened just before 4 o'clock at the Winchester ammunition plant. 5 on your side's Robert Townsend is live in East Alton. And Robert, what can you tell us?
Hey, Mike, right now we're still waiting to get the official word from investigators as to what exactly happened at this ammunition plant this afternoon. Here's what I can tell you. Take a look at the video that we shot about 30 minutes ago. Again, I talked to a dispatcher at the East Alton Police Department. She tells me around 3:45 this afternoon, a person was killed during a truck explosion here at Winchester Ammunition Products. The fire explosion apparently happened in the rear of the plant. Now, the plant is located on Powder Hill Mill Road, again in East Alton. That's Powder Mill Road. The dispatcher tells me right now she doesn't know if the victim was a man or a woman. The dispatcher says the truck explosion was actually so loud and powerful that people at the police department and nearby neighborhoods actually felt their properties shake. Again, we talked to several folks who are posting on social media, Facebook and Instagram, talking about how their homes rattled at the time of this explosion. East Alton's police chief is here, as well as the mayor. They're also talking to company officials, obviously, at this hour. We hope to talk to them and get an update for you and have that for you later. Live in East Alton, I'm Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
Tonight, we're also learning new exclusive details about a horrific crash that caused a 17-year-old volleyball player to lose her legs. The incident earlier this year in downtown St. Louis is the focus of a new lawsuit filed by Janae Edmondson and her family. 5 on your side's Christine Byers is live tonight at the scene of the incident with new information about the investigation and the lawsuit. Christine.
Mike, this stop sign and warning to drivers that cross traffic does not stop wasn't here at 11th and St. Charles Streets the night that Janae Edmondson was struck back in February. Now it's one of the key elements of a lawsuit and the police investigation into how this accident unfolded. This Google Earth photo and this photo from the police report obtained by 5 on your side shows a yield sign was here the day Janae Edmondson was struck. According to a lawsuit filed this week, Daniel Riley failed to yield to the car that struck him and sent him careening into Janae. The lawsuit also claims the yield sign wasn't appropriate for the intersection because large buildings on either side of the street block a driver like Riley's view of cross traffic.
Obviously, the person with most liability would be Mr. Riley.
Scott Rosenblum is a longtime criminal defense attorney whose clients often file civil lawsuits apart from criminal cases.
Well, it's just another way to seek justice. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes the only way to seek justice is measured in dollars and cents. And that's the only way to quantify it.
The lawsuit targets Riley, Riley's mother, the driver of another car involved in the accident, a car rental company, and the city of St. Louis. Rosenblum says the city has the biggest target on its back.
Then you go and you look where there's potentially deeper pockets, and I would say that would be the city of St. Louis, given the construction of that intersection.
What if I were to tell you that we went to that intersection today and we found a stop sign is there instead of the yield sign that was there? Do you think that opens them up to additional exposure here?
Well, certainly I think that is fairly damning.
The police report also shows Riley was driving this Audi his mother rented, and his license was suspended. These images show Riley seconds before the crash leaving a studio at 10th and Washington. Accident reconstruction shows he accelerated from 17 miles an hour to 45 miles an hour within 3.5 seconds after he pulled out of his parking spot, and that he floored it 1 second prior to impact. He didn't try to brake or avoid the collision. He told police he, quote, blacked out when a Malibu hit him, woke up while he was sliding, and crawled out of the car when it was on its roof. Now, that police report also shows that Daniel Riley did not have alcohol in his system at the time of this crash. I also contacted the mayor's office. They said they wouldn't comment on pending litigation, and they also wouldn't tell me when this stop sign was put up. Live in downtown St. Louis, Christine Byers, 5 on your side.
A weekend mass shooting in a downtown office space raised new questions about how law enforcement can hold minors accountable for violent gun crimes. The shooting killed a teenager and wounded 11 other teens. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, just sat down with the U.S. Attorney to see how federal prosecutors can play a role in cracking down on kids with guns. Mark?
Mike, we got a lot of questions from viewers about this week. Federal law says kids cannot possess guns, not without adult supervision. But if kids are carrying guns, can federal prosecutors press charges? The answer was a bit complicated.
Our office does, in fact, prosecute juveniles federally, but we only do so in very egregious circumstances.
As the U.S. Attorney in Missouri's Eastern District, Sailor Fleming prosecutes more murder cases than almost any other district in the country.
When it comes to just the mere possession, while that is unlawful under federal law, it is very complicated under the federal system to prosecute that juvenile federally.
Law enforcement faces a dual threat in Missouri: the troubling trend of juveniles picking up firearms at a higher rate, and state law that drives a wedge between local and federal law enforcement. The Second Amendment Preservation Act threatens to sue local police officers who try and enforce federal gun laws in Missouri.
I know that ATF, as that we said in the lawsuit, has had difficulty with some police departments entering gun information, trace reports, things like that, information into their systems, which makes it very difficult for us to do our jobs.
As I've said before, the problem is not a lack of laws. The problem is a lack of law enforcement.
Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft is running for governor in the Republican primary. He said he would have signed the 2017 law dropping the requirement for a concealed carry permit, which included an age limit of 19 years old. We asked him about open carry on the record.
Should you be able to walk down the streets of urban St. Louis with an AR-15?
I don't see why it's a problem.
You don't?
No. The AR-15, the long gun, whatever it is, isn't the problem. The problem we have is with individuals.
As the city of St. Louis considers a crackdown on open carry, and in the absence of state laws that ban minors from carrying guns in the open, the U.S. Attorney says you can still face serious charges in federal court.
If we have a juvenile that has committed, like I said, a crime of violence, as defined under federal law, we will review that case and potentially prosecute it. And you will be prosecuted as an adult in that instance.
St. Louis police also believe they do have legal grounds to approach someone openly carrying a gun in public to ask if they have a concealed carry permit. And if they don't, an officer might issue a summons for a potential fine after a court date. But without legal means to remove that weapon from the scenario, that confrontation can put officers in a rather risky situation.
Mark, thanks. Developing in North St. Louis, where a 9-year-old boy has been hurt in what police call an accidental shooting. It happened about 2 hours ago at a house on Wells. Police say the boy's 14-year-old cousin was either cleaning or loading a gun when it went off, grazing the younger child in the knee. The younger child is expected to be okay. Police say his cousin got scared and ran off. 41 children have been shot in St. Louis this year. 8 of them have died. Today, St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones and the Urban League both held summits aimed at addressing the rise in violence in the city. 5 on your side's Holden Kerwicki was at both events, and he joined us now live downtown with more on the solutions that were being discussed. Holden.
Well, Mike, that event hosted by Mayor Jones was actually closed to the press, but Mayor Jones and members of the Urban League were very clear in their messaging that despite there being no quick fix to the issues right here in our city, now's not the time to simply sit around and hope things get better. When referencing a weekend shooting in downtown St. Louis that left 11 people wounded, 1 dead, and another person injured, Urban League Vice President of Public Safety James Clark doesn't mix his words.
We are in clear crisis. This is a situation that does not self-regulate.
People don't want to hear talk. Young people don't want to hear talk. They want action. We've talked enough.
What we saw play out downtown plays out every day in our neighborhoods.
St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones admits there's no quick fix, but beginning this weekend, she's taking steps to extend hours at the Wall and Marquette community centers, an idea that she got while examining how cities like Newark, New Jersey, and Tampa, Florida addressed crime.
We have enough youth centers around here, but I don't think we're using them properly or we're using them as much as we can.
That's why the Urban League is taking another approach at fighting crime.
We have tried to fight this from 3,000 feet. It just doesn't work. We've got to focus on the neighborhoods, the front porch, and the living room.
By mobilizing more than 100 faith leaders in the city, Clark believes they can reach kids before they turn to life on the streets.
Now is the time to activate the neighborhood church and strengthen the neighborhood church's outreach ability with social service organizations that can meet the needs of the families that live in walking distance of the church.
Our babies belong to our community, and we are long overdue to make robust investments in their health and well-being.
We can solve this. We can create the necessary movement to turn it around, but it starts in the neighborhood.
Today, Mayor Jones actually issued a challenge to everyone across our area to come up with solutions to crime right here in the city, but not solutions that would be implemented over weeks or months, but things that can go into effect immediately. For more information on how you can submit your ideas, just go to KSDK.com and look for this story under the As Seen on TV tab. Mike?
Coming up, a police car comes under fire along I-70. What police think the suspects did next. Plus, a popular bakery closing shop. The reason the owners are stepping away.
And another air quality alert issued for tomorrow. That's 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. Plus, tracking some heat for the weekend and a chance of storms.